Houston, Wabasha, and Fillmore counties. Some of those counties still have moratorium against silica sand mining. I wrote the ordinance last year for Fillmore County to strongly and strictly regulate silica sand mining in Fillmore County. That ordinance was approved by the commissioners and is law in Fillmore County right now. I'm trying to help other counties do the same thing. This is not about trying to prohibit silica sand mining, it's about trying to regulate it. Key elements of that kind of an ordinance and the need for you to study it are to distinguish between aggregate mining, which we all appreciate, value, and are customers of, and silica sand mining, which we are not. Fillmore County prohibits washing and processing of silica sand at a mining site. Will not allow it. Doesn't want that water, that groundwater table to be at all consumed. We had a proposed mining operation that applied to the state DNR to consume 198 million gallons of water a year to wash silica sand. We killed it. Won't have it. We don't want flocculants or chemicals at a mining site. That's been prohibited. You can't take the overburden from a mining site. You got to keep it there to be used for ongoing reclamation. We want ongoing reclamation. We don't want to have a mining site 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that has never been reclaimed. And so we require ongoing reclamation every 10 acres. Roads. The biggest problem in all of our counties is we've got a lot of gravel roads. Fillmore County and Winona County have enacted road impact reimbursement fees of 22 cents per ton per mile for hauling silica sand. That means if you haul it, you're going to pay that amount, and that's already starting to be imposed on a small existing mine. That's how the county can get money in order to clean up and to repair some of those roads that are damaged. I urge you to do a moratorium.
David?
The other thing I would encourage you to do is you have Donna Rasmussen on your board. She is a water expert. She has participated in the study of silica sand mining in Fillmore County. She certainly can help you to determine some of the impacts.
David, I got one question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned the tax on the sand.
It's not a tax, it's a reimbursement.
Okay. Is that on ag bedding sand?
Absolutely not.
It's just
only on silica sand mining. That's why we distinguish between the two types of mining operations. We certainly do not strictly regulate aggregate mining because we want to preserve that. But we know what, from mining practices, what the reality is for hauling upwards of 200 to 400 trucks per mining site per day. That's going to damage your roads. That's going to get the 22 cents per ton per mile.
All right, thank you.
Brian Tank, I was with the National Heritage Foundation. I live here in Decorah. I have a letter here that I was going to read, but in the interest of time, I will not do that. I'll just make a brief comment. The National Heritage Foundation would certainly encourage you to consider a moratorium on frac sand mining and related activities. Just to give you more time to thoughtfully and thoroughly investigate the impacts to our water, our scenic, and kind of our spectacular natural resources we have here, the public health, our infrastructure of our roads and our bridges, and all the things that I mentioned tonight. So please take these into consideration, and we encourage you to support the moratorium. Thanks.
Before you answer, I just wanted to speak to a couple points
employment in west central Wisconsin from silica sand mining will be one fraction of 1% of total employment in the region. One thing that all economic analysts are predicting for the silica sand industry is that once they get past the first few years of initial expansion, there will be a period of rapid consolidation and vertical integration because the natural gas companies stand to gain a lot of savings if they actually own, have vertical integration throughout the process and own the sand mining company. That's expected to happen in only within the next decade. Once that happens, the ownership of these mines will be non-local, and that will create a huge, sucking noise out of these local regions. And then there's a study in Chippewa County for property values where they found that within 1/3 of an acre of scratch sand mines, property values have declined 30%, within a mile 15%, within 2 miles 9%, within 3 miles 5%. And in the U.S. in general, when mines close, it's the norm that the economy of the community that mine was is in worse shape post-mine closure than it was pre-mine entry.
Where is that, did you say where that article is going to be published?
They're having a press release for it in Loomer, Wisconsin. I assume that they'll be releasing it online. It's sponsored by the Wisconsin Farmers Union. And we've got copies of the press release for that.
All right, thank you.
My name is Carl Knutson. I'm from Decorah, Iowa, 1004 Ridge Road. I've been asked to speak on behalf of Winneshiek County Protectors. I'm an attorney here, but I'm also personally interested in the issues. I'm a lifelong resident of the county. I've drafted a proposed ordinance that would establish a 24-month moratorium, and I believe you all have that before you. I presented it to Tony Phillips, and a 2-page letter explaining reasons why I believe a moratorium would be appropriate. Also the preamble of the proposed moratorium here also explains some of those issues, and you've probably heard them all here. I don't need to get into them again. A moratorium, according to the Iowa Supreme Court, is something that can serve a significant public purpose. And the reason for that is it can provide governmental organization time to study, and it preserves the status quo while we have that study. I don't think any of us here pretend to have all of the answers, and that's not the point of a moratorium. The point of a moratorium is for study, because we don't have all of the answers. We don't know exactly how many acres might eventually be mined or would be subject to be mined. I suppose that's going to depend on what the regulations say, how much overburden can be removed, how far are they going to keep pushing this, and devastating landscape. That's going to depend on the regulation, but that sand is there at a great thickness, and it continues on all the way pretty much across the county. Depends on how deep you want to go with it. Of course, there's also a practical limit, but there's a regulation limit that isn't in effect yet, and should be in effect. Now, we do have some regulation, arguably, the type of situation that went on with the Quandale Quarry. There are questions regarding the legality of that under the fact that the planning and zoning is not specifically in the Code of Iowa given authority to deal with conditional use permits. Special use permits are to be, pardon?
30 seconds.
Okay. Anyway, I would encourage you to take a look at what you have. If you want to regulate, you've got to do it according to the comprehensive plan. Some of these issues, like silica sand, polyacrylamide, if you tried to impose that as a conditional use permit, and it's not in the comprehensive plan, it would be arbitrary and capricious if you tried to set an ambient air standard. But if you have something in the comprehensive plan based on scientific evidence, then you could do that. You could require some type of regulation. You don't have anything for land rehabilitation except removing plants afterwards.
We've been going on here for quite a while.
I have a quick follow-up on the map.
Excuse me?
I have a quick follow-up on the map, which was a question asked of me. So I've been sitting here thinking, forgive me, I've been sitting here counting mentally the number of outcrops within 6 miles of Decorah to the north, and I came up with 50. Potential 50 mines.
Before you start the clock, can I say something about some counting or three?
I'm kidding.
I've been on both sides of this process in this room. Good enough, Steve. I have been, my name is Steve McCarter. I live in rural Glenwood Township. I lived here in Winneshiek County for 31 years. And I have been on both sides of this process in this room. I have strong memories of many hearings and many passions expressed in this room, both to the Board of Supervisors and to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I want to, on behalf of the people who are here, supporting the Winneshiek County Protectors, I want to thank you for the time that you invested in this effort. I know you're all volunteers, and I know this is not easy. Who among you have wanted to come to this meeting today and spend hours listening to people in the community either encourage you to do one thing or the other? So, I want to thank you. I appreciate it. I know what you're going through. And the community owes you some thanks for what you're doing. I appreciate it. I hope you feel the same way about me after I say my name. In the Iowa Constitution, Section 2, your authority to act is defined. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people, and they have the right at all times to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require. You have authority to act as the supervisors. What do we know? We know that rural America is under assault. Mountaintop removal for coal mining in West Virginia with millions of gallons of sludge and slurry in lagoons that are earthen lagoons, some of which have broken, and polluted communities across West Virginia. We know about fracking for oil and gas extraction in Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Dakota, and soon several other states, which fracking is causing ground and surface water contamination, air pollution, the destruction of quality of life for people in rural America. We know about frac sand mining 80 miles from here in Trempealeau County, where 7 mines are currently in operation, 20 more are permitted. This is 20% of Wisconsin's total in one county. 3,000 acres are permitted. And one mine is a 700-acre mine. This is 80 miles from us. What do we know? We've been told that our St. Peter sandstone isn't desirable as frac sand, so what do we have to worry about? But the Patterson mine in Clayton County mines St. Peter sand in both underground and surface mines. That's the same sand that we have here that we're trying to protect. What do we know? The polyacrylamide used in frac sand mining processing is supposedly safe, but a male physician, Dr. Fire-Eisen, says its breakdown byproducts, acrylamide and others, are highly toxic and a risk to our groundwater in very small quantities of pollution. In very small quantities of the acrylamide, which can cause significant pollution. What do we know? Iowa is not one of the 6 states that has an enforceable silica in the ambient air regulation. Texas and California do. We have no help from the state here. We're on our own in our country. What do we know about reclamation in mines across America? Toxic fly ash from coal-fired power plants is an unregulated heavy metal, which is frequently disposed in Yukon mines across the country. There is no absolute right to mine silica sand in Winneshiek County or anywhere else in the state of Iowa. There is no absolute right conferred by the state or federal constitutions or by Iowa law. I'm going to go fast. We can reflect our values, the values of our citizens, the sovereign people of Winneshiek County in our governing documents.
and zoning ordinance. We expect you to do this work on our behalf. The privilege to mine silica sand in Winneshiek County can be granted, limited, regulated, or prevented by the people of this county, and we need the necessary time to create our own unique regulatory framework. That starts with a 24-month moratorium on the issuance of new conditional use permits for silica sand mining. That is the people's choice and the direction for your action tonight. Do the right thing. We are not going away. And please, those who are in favor of the moratorium, please stand or raise your hand to let this commission know what your opinion is about this issue. Thank you.
I guess I'd like to ask one of the protectors a question, or whoever would like to answer, Lyle or whatever. My main question is, are you just worried about fracking, or is it gonna get into the cattle bedding, the sand we're producing now?
Right, we want the ordinance to exclude the small scale mining that's being done.
So the next question would be, is if next month, Brooding, Welchon, or whoever come in and wanted to open a bluff sand pit for bedding, agricultural use, what would you expect the board to do?
Next month, before there's been any kind of study or anything like that?
This is on strictly the sand that we're producing today. If that's what they're gonna open this sand pit for, not fracking sand.
Right, we're not interested in seeing small scale sand mines excluded.
Got one way in the back.
Well, I just have a question about, I think Jeff Bill from Decorah, I think Patterson is an underground mine, correct? Well, Patterson is an underground mine, if I understand correctly.
Both.
It's both. Okay. But then you look at like, if it's, one of the remaining quarries right now, what if they're sitting on top of a silica sand bed? What's going to stop them from exploding into a gigantic open pit mine? If they dig down 10 feet into an aquifer, I think there's some issues that aren't looked at and aren't really completely evolved yet. And a moratorium is definitely necessary to try and think beyond what we've already thought about. All right, thank you.
Just real briefly, we were all here earlier to hear a local Winneshiek County citizen denied a couple cabins because it had an environmental impact, a community impact, and it was too vague to be approved. I think all of us are here asking you to give us the 24-month moratorium. We don't know enough. It's too vague. We don't know enough. And it's that simple. So thank you for your time.
Can you hear me, Scott? My name is Rich White, and I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa Limestone Producers Association, and I live in Moore. And I'm up here because I read in the newspaper some of the things that have been said, and I have some concerns that this frac sand mining the moratorium will cover a broader area. And I want to point out, I bought some brochures, if you don't mind, I'll bring these up. We've been mining limestone in Iowa for over 70 years. And I want to remind everybody that there are a lot of very good things that come from mining. For example, is there anybody in here that doesn't like wind power? Anybody thinks that's a bad idea? Your average windmill has about 3,000 tons of crushed limestone. That's 100 truckloads, each one of them. You probably all drove here. An asphalt road is 90% rock. Concrete road is about 80%.
Address them.
And I just want to make sure that when you're doing this, and I commend you for the process, it's been very interesting to learn, but most of the aggregate that's used in Winneshiek County is how it becomes in Winneshiek County. It costs a lot to haul it around. We like to say, as a rule of thumb, every 20 miles you haul it, the price doubles. So I think as you go forward, I just hope that you would pay close attention to the information that we sent you. I have heard some things that said tonight that aren't really quite accurate. I think people have tried very hard to get their facts straight, but I know from experience what it's like to be in a mine, what the safety in mind, and that we do have an ambient air standard. It's not an Iowa standard, but Iowa has adopted the national ambient air standard. It's things like that. They're hard, I mean, it takes a long time. There are a lot of links in the letter that I sent you because it's a very complicated issue. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
I do too.
Okay.
When you said that the cost of rock doubled in 20 miles, would you not tell Brookings or what?
Well, it's a rough thing, and it varies from area to area depending on.
Go ahead, Mike.
This is wax bowl.
Let's think of that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I got it. So, from our understanding, what we've been told is that nobody's interested in doing any frac sand mining. We've been told that the sand is not good enough. So if there was a moratorium put in place, could you see any way that it would hurt the mining industry?
You know, it's hard for me to say without seeing the wording in it, because it can get kind of complicated. I want to make it again clear that I'm not a frac sand mining person, I'm not a silica sand mining person. Our bylaws are very specific. For somebody to join our association, they have to take limestone formation and process it. If somebody came to me and said, I'll give you $50,000 to be a member of your association, I'd have to turn them down if they wanted to be a silica, if they were a silica sand mine. So I don't know all I know is about limestone and sand and gravel, the aggregates industry. Thank you.
Not to put Welchens or Olson's on the spot, but I would be interested in hearing from them if they, this is the same question that Mike just asked, if anybody wanted, from those businesses wanted to speak. If not, that's fine.
Okay, my name's Kurt Oates with Olson Explosives. I'm a lifelong career miner, mining engineer by education, and I've been working in silica sand mining operations since 1986. In sand mining, California. Currently, I'm general manager with Olson Explosives. There's a lot of, sad to say, there's a lot of misinformation and exaggeration that's been taking place here in the past few months. And we've been mining sand in the United States and globally since the mid-1800s. I'm just going to pull off some points that I picked up from Lean tonight. But somebody made reference to dust standards in California as far as silica respirable dust. If silica's so bad, the state of California, there's a state park in the San Francisco Bay Area that's an old underground silica sand mine. There's things that are taking place that are just exemplary examples of what the mining industry can do post-use. The polyacrylamide debate. damage that I see coming from a moratorium over the next 2 years, if somebody were to want to come into the county, which I still don't think will happen, because we lack the transportation. But the damage that would occur if there's a moratorium in place, it would, in essence, prevent a reputable company from coming in here and providing good jobs, good revenue, improved tax base for the county itself. Mining jobs are good revenue for the county. Somebody made reference to Bloomer, Wisconsin earlier this evening. Bloomer, Wisconsin is going through
Half a
huge-
minute. We were asking a question. Is there any other questions? I do have another one. Okay, but finish up what you're saying.
But Bloomer, Wisconsin, and there are some small communities in central Wisconsin that have been depressed for quite a while, are seeing a huge economic boost from this industrial sand market. And it's not just Bloomer, it's not just New Auburn, cities like Menominee, Wisconsin, Toma. You know, there's a multitude of them out there.
So aside from somebody maybe not wanting to come here to do frac sand mining down the road in 2 years, you don't see it hurting the other sand mines that are already going on and the other aggregate mines that are going on now?
Well, I do know that there's a lot of concern that every time government gets bigger, or every time that government or zoning laws tie your wrist in how you can address and do things, you're limiting the options. That is one of the most unique things about the mining industry, is that each one is unique and individual. Each one needs to do their own engineering and design work, and each one needs to address the site-specific needs of that location.
Anyone else up there have a question for Kurt?
I have a question.
Kyle still here?
Kyle's over there now.
Yes.
How many subcontractors for trucking do you have?
I don't have an exact number, but I'd say there's 5 or different subcontractors that we have that offer us.
And, I would say 2 of them in room type?
Actually, I don't, is there anybody,
No.
not that I'm aware of. Is there anybody in here that does hauling for us? Oh, anyway, I don't think so.
While you're on the spot, Kyle, there's been a lot of issues raised from water usage. Do you wash on site?
Yes, we wash and we recycle the water.
Okay. Can you give us a rough idea on water, in what you sent to us, you talked about 2 million gallons of water a day that you use, but then you state that is recycled?
Yeah,
So do you actually use 2 million a day, or?
we recycle about 80% of what we use, and there's about, through the process, approximately 3,500 gallons per minute. I don't know off the top of my head, I'd have to do some math. Beth, you looked at, maybe Beth knows those numbers off the top of your head, but.
I would like to point out that the flyer that we sent to you was actually from Fairmount Minerals, but it was information that they had put together, so that is not adequate information, but it applies to us in general, as far as, information about, silica, groundwater, etc.
So once this water is, from my understanding, this water all ends up in a pond after it's done being used, is that correct? In a holding pond of some sort?
It's recycled and it goes through we got a dam and the tailings go into that, and then it's a filter, and the water then goes away from that, and it goes either down into a creek and then into the Mississippi River, or into the limestone below.
Is the pond lined, or is it just a sort of pit?
Actually, the pond is lined, the clay is held within, and there is a filter in the front of that that filters the clay so it doesn't pass through there. And we test the water that leaves there as required by our permit.
And you said it was lined, the pond?
Some of it is lined, but the front of it is a filter, so to filter the clay.
And what's it lined with?
It's other than the face of it, it's clay.
Okay.
I mean, actually, it's clay.
Okay, I think due to the time frame here, we've been at this for an hour and a half. I'm gonna limit this just to people on the board, if they have any questions. I mean, if they have any questions for anybody else at this particular time, if not, I'd look for a motion to close the public hearing. So moved. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Public hearing is closed.
And all I tried to do is to put it into a form, an outline form, and that was, that simply sort of goes through, and it turns out that almost all the issues that we talked about today are on here. I think one consideration toward the bottom that is not talked about, does have to do with building new lines and some of this area might touch lightly. As far as, if you wanted to take a look at that, that part of it is more recreation, certainly the governing body in terms of funding. But I thought if we have something like this in front, it might help us in that more discussion. That's why I think it's necessary to do this. The other area that was not considered by comments had to do with diesel particulates being given off either from trucks or from machinery within the mine. I know that was one thing that came up in some of the materials that were used. So basically the items are increased truck traffic, diesel particulates, fugitive dust, and that includes both and the respiratory system and smoke effect, and also taking dust off of the road. Blocking moving groundwater and accidental discharges like dam breaches, groundwater supply, environmental impact. And a lot of this I took from some of the mining regulations that we were sent from the mines. Talking about numbers of new mines and area of new mines per year, and being told what we'd like to see in the county if indeed mines start coming in. Reclamation plans, in particular, the plan, but also monitoring over time and successful criteria, impact on tourism, and then governing bodies and sources of funding. That's the final thing. So, like I say, I simply did this after reading all the materials provided by your discussion.
Thank you, Wendy.
Well, having heard all the concerns and having been through this process in Fillmore County, I feel that it is a very complex issue, and it's going to take time to understand all the implications. All of these same issues were looked at by a group in Fillmore County, and it was a very civil process. It involved citizens in that process, and I think that the outcome was very good. As David mentioned, it does not prohibit frac sand mining, but it regulates it to address a lot of the concerns that the citizens had. But it does take time, and it's going to also talking about changes to, or revisions to the comprehensive plan, and that could take more time to look at that.
Possibly, there would be also a possibility after a year, reviewing, if we're not comfortable where we're at, maybe instead of just looking to wouldn't it be better to do it the other way?
Yeah, that's-
Start at 24, get done early, then we get done early, we get done early.
I think people work harder and faster if they have a shorter time period. I guess I'm totally opposed to more regulation. We've got enough rules in this world. I think that we have enough rules and comprehensive plan that the zoning board works well. Look at the Quandall, Wilchin sand, Bluff sand pit. There was a lot of controversy. There was about as many people here for that hearing. The board wrote special conditional use permits. There was a couple complaints to Tony. They were addressed right away and the problems have gone away. I really think that we could live without a moratorium, with the rules that we have. But hearing everybody's concern, against my better judgment and the people I've talked to, I would be in favor of a one-year moratorium because I think people will work a lot harder and faster. And at that time, we can fill the courtroom again with probably more people or whatever. You guys have an unfair advantage tonight because all the farmers are trying to get their corn in. The ones that would possibly.
No gun. No gun.
Please, like I asked, respect.
The farmers are under the gun right now. A lot of them that said they would have liked to have been here to basically talk about their rights as property owners, which was brought up tonight. But with all that said, I guess I would be in favor of going for a 1 year, and I'll bet you that Lyle would rather have a 1 year than nothing.
I'd rather have two.
Well, I'd like to have a new Cadillac too.
I'm very interested in having enough time to look at, I'm very interested in having enough time to look at what other towns have done, that they're coming up with. I think it would be to our advantage to be able to look at their experience so that we can use some of those in making our decisions. I'm also very interested, I'm a scientist, I'm very interested in data. And I'm not sure that the data's gonna be in 1 year, to make really good decisions yet about what's happening. It may not be in 2 years, but I think 1 year is a very short time, seeing as many places in the Midwest, especially Wisconsin, Minnesota, and also Iowa, are starting to collect data. I'm not sure that we'll all be in time for us to really come up with a good plan in 1 year.
I'm not a scientist, but I'm a farmer, and I should be on my corn planter. I'm a little slower reader, I guess, than Wendy. It took me about 8 to 10 hours to get through everything when I should have been getting ready for the planting, I guess. But I've done a lot of contemplating, a lot of thinking on this. It's been a very, very tough thing to think about. I think about the sand pit that's just a couple city blocks from us that Carlson's have operated since I was barely big enough to walk. And I wonder how many college educations, how many babies that has raised, that pit there. That industry has really done something, and there's just one example. And I don't know of any people that have been adversely affected by it. But I have a strong, and I do believe that we have a strong comprehensive plan, and we do have strong ordinances. There's a very, very good foundation. I think if we all stand united on those, we can get a lot done. But I am a strong believer in majority rule, and I think the majority has voiced their opinion very clearly tonight. I don't know if we have very many people from the southern part of the county or the western part of the county here to have a whole perspective of the whole county, but it's very obvious that the ones that cared enough to come, the majority has spoken, and I guess I'm going to be supportive of the moratorium.
I guess I'm supportive of the moratorium, the length of time, I struggle with a little bit because there's a lot of information out there, but as like you said, there's more coming. One of the issues I guess I'm concerned about is landowner rights ultimately, because that's never been brought up as a landowner and as a conservationist, I struggle with that. I would probably never sell my farm, but I can't say that somebody down the road would. But I agree we need the moratorium to get some information. Like I said, it's a matter of the length of time, because I know I've talked to a couple of supervisors who, I don't know, you may have a difficulty kind of convincing in 24 months. I don't know. But I agree too with Mike that, we've got a very good comprehensive plan, we've got a very good zoning plan. But along with that, as somebody mentioned to me at one point,